50 years is a long time in the Premier Division, in high-end business, in any chosen path of life, including that of a Derby sale vendor. The Parkhill family have not only survived the course, they have thrived and continue to do so as producers of top-quality national hunt stock. Ken, it's hugely appropriate that we talk to you in this 50th anniversary celebration year. You've been with us the whole journey, and it has been some journey.
It's been a fantastic journey for us, Robert, there's no doubt about it. We started off from very humble beginnings and we worked hard at it all through the years. Obviously it wasn't all sunshine, but we've had a lot of great days with Tats, and hopefully they've had some good days with us as well.
Your father, Marshall, a magnificent man, hugely revered, he sort of started it, didn't he, with the thoroughbred?
Oh, absolutely, yes. He started it because he was from a half-bred background, and my mother's people would have kept a pointer. They were hunting people, and it kind of grew from there. But I can remember when we were very, very small fry in the thoroughbred business. Funny
enough, I brought this book along, Ken, because it's Veterinary Notes by Horace Hayes. Wonderful, wonderful book. But I do notice that my dad put in the back, capped hocks, Marshall Parkhill's prescription. And I tell you what, it worked. Absolutely wonderful. He was revered, wasn't he? He was a magnificent man.
Well, I suppose in those days there were a lot of little quacky cures, and some worked and some didn't, and some...
That was iodine and what they called gas tar.
That's right, yeah, I can remember. It was very messy business, but it did work, yeah.
Now, Highboard came into your life. Highboard was a highline mare out of Matchboard that your dad bought and produced 2 champion hurdle winners. Mm-hmm. Big deal.
Yeah, big deal, certainly, yeah. Big deal for us, yeah.
Tell me about those days and about Highboard. What made her what she was, do you feel?
Well, I think Highline was a very big influence, and her dam Matchboard was, she was a very good mare. But the pedigree in those days was very, very light. I suppose a lot of the pedigrees were, and it just, things happened to click in with the matings that we did, and a lot of luck involved, I'm sure, and to get them into the right hands and at the right time, and it just, everything fell into place.
It's remarkable how the family has kept giving, because there wasn't an awful lot in the page before, but now you see Ferny Hollow, Fury Road, City Island, Bob Ollinger, all from that family that you have produced.
They've been very good to us, and we put ourselves under a lot of pressure to keep fillies in the family. When we could have sold them and maybe the pedigrees would have died out, I don't know, but at the time we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to hold on to fillies and maybe try and get them syndicated or breed from them, but certainly to keep the lines going. And I think that was probably a big thing that made the pedigree what it is today.
Ken, Castletown Quarry only came into the sales catalogue, the Derby sale catalogue, in around 1990. How did that evolve? You were always either Marshall Parkhill or...
Well, the Castletown Quarry started when I got married to Louise, and we wanted to be our own little unit, so we decided that Marshall Parkhill would be himself and we'd be Castletown Quarry.
And was it always the aim to produce top quality national hunt stock, primarily?
Well, I suppose it's easy now to say it was, but it just...
But as regards other farming, I mean, it was bloodstock farming.
Oh, certainly horses in some form or another, and we aimed towards bloodstock. But I remember we were show jumping and selling army horses, hundreds of them, and the thoroughbreds were very much at the back of the burner.
Tell me about those days. It's hugely interesting.
As long as my longest memory is the Swiss army, the cavalry, used to visit Ireland 4 times a year, and they would buy about 50 horses from us each time. There were 3, 4 and 5-year-old half-bred horses, and we were on the road nearly day and night to get them put together. 4 times a year. And when they stopped, they closed down their cavalry. We sold horses to the household cavalry, and then we gradually...
Colour was a big thing, wasn't it?
Yes, for the household cavalry they had to be, for the different units, the trumpeters were grey, the drummers were very big coloured horses, the blacks then for the parades, and the gunners and troopers were little bay horses, bays and browns, and we used to travel the length and breadth of the country to try and put them together for each sale. And then when that stopped, we kind of more got into the thoroughbreds.
Without any regrets?
Oh, certainly no regrets, no.
Castletown Quarry has supplied the top price on 3 occasions, leading vendor on 6 occasions. I mean, it has evolved spectacularly.
Well, I suppose when you say it that way, it's spectacular, but a lot of luck involved, really, to be straight about it. There is a lot of luck.
Tell me about the preparation that you give to a 3-year-old. When does it begin, and is it,
Well, I suppose it begins the day they're born. If you have a nice big colt, you can kind of see Derby sale or some other sale written all over him. And if you have a little squirt of a filly, well then, or Derby sale, it's more or less over there and then. But if you have a nice colt, you kind of groom him towards the Derby sale, right through his yearlings, 2-year-old, then do a little bit with them when they're 3.
What do you do with them as a 3?
Well, we like during the winter of their 2, 3, we try and get them in and do a bit of handling with them. Just maybe check them veterinary wise and see that they're worth going on with, that they haven't big issues. Keep their feet right, and basically just keep them in one piece and feed them well. I think feeding is a very big part of it. They seem to hold together better when they're fed all their life, when they go into training.
Ken, we've talked about Highboard and how it's a family that keeps on giving, but there have been so many others as well, haven't there? I mean, just looking at the horses that have come through Castletown Quarry or a Parkhill, it's a remarkable lot. And interestingly, they weren't all high-priced horses.
No, some of the best horses that we have sold have been middle-range horses and even lower price horses.
Well, I can tell you, we've got Monet's Garden at 35,000, City Islands 31, Ferny Hollow 38, Muirhead 105,000, but worth every penny. I mean, he won $250,000.
Yeah, he did. He was a good horse, yeah. I don't know, the money, some of those horses weren't big blinders of horses like you associate with Derby sale horses, but they had engines, and that's really what counted.
Do you have memories of certain specific ones? I mean, Monet's Garden, you actually didn't breed Monet's Garden, you bought him, but he was a grey Rosalia. Anything about him that struck you? No,
the one thing I do remember him, he had a lovely temperament. He was a very nice looking horse, but ordinary, a very ordinary pedigree. He just seemed to be an athlete. And then Rosalier was a phenomenal sire.
Nicky Richards bought him for 31,000. He goes on, wins 17 races and becomes a huge people's favourite.
True. I suppose the colour was a big thing, but he won a lot of races.
Bob Ollinger is one of the latest ones that have come through here.
Yeah.
What about him when he was with you?
He was a lovely big horse, but he was a special horse for us because I won a bumper, I think, on probably his great-grandmother, and Peter, my son, won a bumper on his mother. So he still is kind of a special horse for us.
It's so suitable. I mean, you were obviously right-hand man to your dad, and Peter has followed through as well. It's beautiful to see it going on.
Yeah, well, I'm delighted that Peter's involved with the horses, because like for generations and generation and generation, it'd be a pity if it dropped out now. So,
Ken, when go back 30 years or wherever, probably not as much. many, many more 4-year-olds. The Derby sale was probably all about 4-year-olds. Now it is exclusively virtually 3-year-olds.
Yeah, sure. If you brought a 4-year-old to the Derby sale now, people would ask, what's wrong with them?
Tell me about adapting. You know, you've obviously got to get after them a bit quicker. Is that a problem, or is it good for them, or what?
I don't think you don't have to put enough pressure on them to affect them as 3-year-olds rather than 4-year-olds. You know, the prep is it's very simple. It's easy on horses, and they take it well. That's not a problem.
It's a more commercial world that we live in.
Oh, much different now than when I started. Yeah, surely. Every aspect of it, like from the point of pointing, is got very commercialised. The whole thing it's a business now.
The Derby sale being 50 years old, it's been a quite remarkable innings in a lot of ways, in that it has given a focus to stores.
Absolutely. So the Derby sale is probably the place that every storeman wants to have his horses. It has stood the test of time. It started off as the Derby sale. It's still the Derby sale, and it's the place to be.
Tell me about the 2024 draft. What have you? Everybody on course for it?
So far, I suppose we'll have to do a bit more checking. We've had our inspections, and that went nicely for us. And we have a few nice horses. I'm not going to say that they're all stars, but we have a few very nice horses and a few nice fillies, yeah, which I'm looking forward to see how they go.
The filly has taken a completely different purpose in National Hunt in the last 25 years, less than that. It's remarkable how there's a new programme for them, which is absolutely wonderful, and they're not shunned in the sales ring at all now.
Absolutely. If you have a nice filly going to the sales, you'll get probably just as much for a filly as you would as a gelding. And I have to mention at this stage my good friend and neighbour William Flood, who has done more for fillies and breeding than I'd say anybody else. He has turned the whole thing around, because I remember when we had only a few brood mares, if there was a filly born, my father would run up to the house, up to bed, and there wouldn't be a word out of him. And if there was a nice colt, he'd come up and he'd make punch, and he'd talk, and he'd make more punch. And the fillies were worth literally nothing. But now the whole thing has changed.
They weren't put into training, really,
Not at all, no. They got no chance. There were no races for them. And it was a labour of love to have fillies racing.
Ken, what do you think it is that has made the Derby sale so special?
Well, I think when the Derby sale started, Ireland was probably just ready for a boutique sale like it. And it has grown from humble enough beginnings to what it is now. Everybody has heard of the Derby sale, and everybody wants to be there, and the buyers come, and the whole recipe just seems to have worked perfectly.
Well, Ken, we are hugely looking forward to the 26th, 27th of June and celebrating 50 years, and we're so looking forward to you being with us, and I do know that you will get an enormous amount of lookers.
Well, they'll be all welcome, I can assure you, and hopefully we'll have something for nearly everybody.
Keep at it, Ken.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best, Robert, yeah, that's for sure.